How you doing, guys? This is Jason Gutierrez, PT here. Going to do a video today for my buddy on activation and gentle conditioning for girls softball. And what I'm going to do is use resistance bands and do different exercises, and just going to do a little demonstration of them. And we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. So what we're going to do is we want to activate our hips and our weight shifting first. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to grab one rubber band, all right, and I'll try to do the best I can with the view here, bud. All right, and then I'm just going to hold the rubber band, say about shoulder level, but I want to just hold on to it. I don't want to use my arms when I start doing movement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a lateral shift. So the hips will activate by sticking them posterior, sticking them out behind you. So stick your butt out behind you and use your legs to pull into the tension that you're holding. All right, so lateral shifting, we always need to have force generated through the hips as we're swinging. All right, and this would be, a minimal to moderate amount of resistance, just enough to feel like you're pulling against something. We want to activate, we don't want to necessarily in season grow. Okay? So what I'm saying is, I just want you guys to activate things for a while. You can always increase the amount of tension. So that's a lateral shift. Now part two, we're going to hold the tension again. So again, tension, rubber band. We're going to hold it down, say a little bit lower. Arms a little bit out to the sides, hope you can see that. And we're going to do a hip rotation. So again, holding on to the rubber bands, but not using the arms to, pull against resistance. Just hold the tension. And then pull the tension with your mind by using the hip muscles. So that's a clockwise hip rotation. All right, and we can say, a minute to 3 minutes on each of these motions. Then I'm going to go counterclockwise. So counterclockwise will probably feel more natural because that's the way you're going to, a right-handed hitter is going to step into the ball from the back foot to the right foot, counterclockwise type thing, or from the right foot to the left foot. Lefties will be the opposite, so that'll feel more natural for them to go clockwise. All right, so the bands can be at any anchor point. I'm just showing a higher anchor point so you can actually see it on the video. But lower anchor points, so there's one down here that's maybe about 2 feet up off the ground, and I have another one about a foot up off the ground. So I would try different anchor points and see where the girls feel the most activation in their hips, and not using their arms to hold on to the bands, not using the arms to do the tension, to activate the tension, but hold on to the bands and activate by the movements you're doing, right? So that's two. So we're going to do a trunk rotation. Now this one again you can do, I'm using the higher mount so you can see it. So we're going to have the knees. See, I'm going to hold it a little bit low. So let's hold the band, say right above the level of the navel. Belly button. And just rotate with the knees bent. You never want to twist on straight knees. Alright, so we're activating that core. Now what's worked for me in softball is having core strength and driving through it. And I've taught some buddies the same thing, that have just had more power going deep. Right? So we want to feel those side muscles and abdominal muscles engaging, right? So again, the bands, I would like them at different anchor points if you guys find a spot. So this one would be about maybe about a foot below how tall I am. So let's say the highest anchor point, if the girls are about 5 feet tall, would be about 4 feet. And then come down a foot, 3 feet, come down another foot, 2 feet, come down another foot, 1 foot. So really 4 anchor points would be great for this kind of stuff, because then you can try the motions at those different anchor points and see what feels best for each individual person, right? So that's basically getting to the core. So we're gonna do a little bit of rotator cuff. Now rotator cuff obviously is a cornerstone of shoulder strength with sports and baseball for sure. So we're gonna do what's called outwards rotation. All right, so I'm gonna do a few different angles. So this is the general angle that we do, 0 to 15 degrees of abduction and then reaching outwards. And that one's gonna tighten up the cuff nice, right? But I like to do 3 different anchor points. So we'll say number 1 is where you're at, the low angle. Come up a little higher, second angle, come up to 90 degrees, third angle. And just do a couple at a time, right? So if you're using the higher anchor point, you want to drop those elbows down. You want to set the humerus bones down and the scapula's down into a slightly depressed position, and then start doing your rotations. Because then you know you're not going to hike up the scapulas, you're not going to cause impingement in the shoulder, but you're actually going to activate that rotator cuff the best it can be, right? So, set, elbows bent to 90 degrees, 1, 2, 3. And that would be 3 sets of 5 on each, something like that, or 2 fatigue. Excellent exercise for rotator cuff. And just to emphasize that 90 degree angle more, we can do kind of a short rotation right there. So this would be nice light tension, right? This would probably be a little bit weaker up there and maybe a little bit too mobile if they're baseball players. Nice and easy activating those shoulders back. And I love that position. That's rotator cuff tension position is pretty optimized right at about 90 degrees, and you're gonna get some biceps activity up there as well. All right, so that's rotator cuff on that one. And general shoulder blade strength to control the motions of the upper extremity. I like short rows to get started, because most people have their shoulders rolling forwards, right? So when we shorten up, we're going to kind of tighten up those rhomboids and traps, and the ones that have probably been over lengthened too long. So I would say about 2 to 3 sets of 10 on short rows. And then I would say about 2 sets of 10 coming out to 90 degrees. And that's called a reverse fly, and there's machines in the gym you can do for that, but I prefer the tension all day on the resistance bands. All right. And then if you do have a higher anchor point, the end range of the PNF pattern, D2 PNF, is awesome too. So something like this. And that's posterior rotator cuff, posterior delt. And I would go a couple sets of 10 on that as well. So this can be conditioning for, twice or every other day, 2 or 3 sets of 10 on everything. And I would consistently do it, 2 to 3 days a week, 2 days a week for sure. And hopefully that made sense, but if you have any questions, let me know. Have a great one.